Hey there, well, welcome back. It's Valerie again. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell for when I upload new videos. Sorry, I've been a bit quiet. I haven't really wanted to involve myself in all the gossip and the back and forth that was happening on Love is Blind, so I decided to wait until I found another show to review. So in this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Without Borders, which is a show that produced by Kinetic, who produced The Ultimatum, Married at First Sight, Love is Blind, so I guess this is their fourth show. And for me, it comes across as a cross between. Um, I think the idea for this show came from Married at First Sight, Love is Blind, The Ultimatum, and parts of 90 Day Fiance. That's the impression that I got because in this show, there is a there is a matchmaker, and she matches people with people around the world. So these are American people that are matched with people anywhere else in the world. So you could be matched with someone in Asia, Africa, Australia, um, within America itself, or wherever they send you. So in this episode, we get to be introduced to three participants, who are introduced, and then they meet up with the matchmaker. You don't find out apparently where you're going until you get to the airport. And when the matchmaker arrives on your doorstep, you have to be prepared to leave, which is a bit strange for me because I think they give them notice. There's no way, because otherwise she's going to end up turning up at people's workplace to say, let's go home, you need to pack your bags. And the first person we meet is Darlene. Darlene is a tech manager. She says she's of Asian descent. She normally dates white guys, but she's finding that the people that she meets are not really serious. They're not looking into getting married. So this is why she signed up to the show. She lets her friend know that she signed up to the show and she's waiting to be matched with someone. The expert comes over, meets up with her, tells her, okay, it's time to go. And she has a freak out and it's like, but you knew this was happening. You signed up for this show. You knew the concept of the show. What's wrong now? So she has a mini freak out and then later goes to the airport and finds out she's going to Dubai. She's being matched with someone in Dubai and she's very excited because it's someone of Asian heritage. And I think because that's her heritage as well, that is something that sort of pleases her. So she flies, the 20 hours to Dubai, gets there and meets the guy, and the door's opened by a lady, and she's sort of surprised by, I think I thought it was catfishing as well. I was like, why is there a lady at the door? But it turns out that's the sister, their sister. And for me, Shrek, he's a very good looking man. Apparently he's in fashion and he also does modeling. He has an idea of the type of woman he wants to marry. He looks like he works out. And for me, it's like, why are we on this show? If you're this appealing, what's wrong? What's the red flag? Because my antennas go up because I'm like, he doesn't need to be on a show like this. But then I think Shreya's on the show for publicity, for exposure, more or less, to get exposure to a foreign market. That's the impression that I got. I don't know why um Garlin is there because she doesn't come across as someone who's, really after exposure and publicity and being famous. But Shreya, yeah, he comes across. I've got my eye on him. I've got my eye on him. I don't see this relationship working because you could already tell Shreya was being a bit put off by Garlin. Garlin, I think, expressed that she was very anxious as to why his family was there. I think she expected him at 30 to be living alone. So she didn't expect the first day she met him to meet his family as well, which I can understand. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Then we meet Phil. Phil is the son to the guy from Miami Vice. He says he's one of 15 siblings. His mother's late. He was raised by his brother, and he's a musician. And for me, immediately I go, he's after fame. He's after fame. He's a good-looking guy. He comes from his father must have some sort of money. Why is he on this show as well? I don't get it. He says he's a musician, so I think maybe he's just after, increasing his fan base. So he tells his brother that he's waiting to be matched by someone. And so, the expert comes over, has a conversation with him, tells him he's been matched by someone. He decides to cut his hair, which I think was a good idea. Well, it's a good idea for him, I think, because he wanted to make a great first impression. I think because he didn't know how people would accept him with his braids on. So they go through the barber shop, he gets his haircut, and then he finds out he's going to Ghana and he's really excited because apparently before his late mom passed away, she was working with people in Ghana to build schools and she was thinking of taking him there. So for him, I think he comes across as a homegoing, as something that he should have done with his mom. So he gets that bond with his mom and the country she loved. And so he's happy about going there. And I'm a bit surprised though as to who they matched him with because I would have expected them to match him with a Ghanaian girl, but instead they match him with she's of mixed heritage. She's mixed Austrian and Ghanaian. And she tells him that she's moved there. She moved. Well, I didn't quite get that bit. Whether she moved to the house 4 years ago or whether she moved from Austria to Ghana 4 years ago. She says she's an entrepreneur, and for me, this is what I'm saying. There are people that they're casting, whatever they're going for. I don't get it because then they don't come across as the normal everyday people who would struggle to find relationships or people who come across as people who are seriously looking for relationships because I don't know. I think they're just after what they're after in Love is Blind and Married at First Sight and the ultimatum drama, 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 and toxicity, toxicity, toxicity. And I think the people that are on this show, especially the season one that we've met, they come across, all of them, bar Garlene, they come across as people who are just after fame. Really, they come across as people that are just after fame. I don't know. I hope they work out. I hope they are a good match, but we'll see how that goes. And lastly, we meet. Ina is a musician. She went through a very bad breakup, so she bought a van and has been living van life, air quotes. And so she says, she's looking for a relationship. She's been moving around the country. She has a conversation with her dad, and the dad, the dad cracked me up. You could tell he wasn't interested and he wasn't happy about her being on the show because he kept saying, this is not a good idea. And she asked him, will you come and visit me? He said no. He said, what about if I have children? He said no. And so it's interesting how that's going to play out, really. Although, I don't know, maybe he might become more accepting since, she's been matched with a guy from Ireland. So she gets to go to Ireland to meet. She meets with the expert who she actually comes to the expert because she sells her van and sort of disposes of everything in the van. And I'm thinking, why? Why not park your van somewhere and then after the 12 weeks, make a decision of whether or not you want to stay. If you want to stay, then go back to America, sell your van, and stay where you are. But I don't know. So she sells a van, meets up with the expert, and is told she's going to Ireland. She has a freak out on the flight because she doesn't know whether this is a good idea, which I understand given the fact that she's come out of a toxic relationship. I don't get it. None of the people that I've seen in this episode come across as people who are desperate to find love, except for Garlene. Everybody else seems like they have an ulterior motive for being on the show. Either they're just after being famous or they're just after being famous or exposure. That's more or less the impression that I get. And I don't know why they're only given through because they get 12 weeks to live with this person. And then in the 12 weeks, when their visa runs out, they decide whether they want to stay or whether they want to go back to America. And it's like, 12 weeks is a lot, is too short a time, especially if you're living in a foreign country where you have cultural differences, you might have language differences, so it's going to be difficult for you to understand each other with the other person. But then maybe I'm going too deep. We'll see what happens in the next episode. Thanks guys for watching and welcome back to my channel. See you next time. I will be uploading Too Much to Handle. I'll try and review it as soon as I can. But see you next time, guys. Bye.